बिकॉज तुम अच्छा होम टाउन गए थे, तो इतने दिन के लिए होम टाउन जाते हैं? कहाँ है तुम्हारा होम टाउन? यार एमपी से बहुत लोग हैं इस बार यहाँ, एमपी से लिटरली आई हैव मेट एट मिनिमम नहीं नहीं, हमारी सब हम कोई तो थोड़ी बोल, तुम करो लाइव। चलो, तो लास्ट क्या पॉइंट था, है ना? तो द चाइनीज पीएलए, सो इट annexed Tibet, all right, and this annexation of Tibet was alarming for India, okay, because for a very long time this Tibet actually acted as a, I would say, here in between it's Tibet and here India, so it almost for a very long time it acted as a strategic buffer between China and India, all right. But now it showed us two things. One was the aggressive and annexationist nature of China, and another thing is now India will have to deal directly, because now India's boundary, a long boundary, will be there with China. Okay, so आपने कैसे लिखा था? अच्छा, तो चाइना में तुम लिखो, right? Soon after the consolidation of power in China, comma, the government there. Aarti, why are you not regular?
Sir,
You are not audible. हाँ, Aarti, you are not regular, ना? कल नहीं आए थे. Yesterday you were not there in class.
sir, actually, day before yesterday, I was not able to join from my portal, sir. So I was attending live on YouTube, and yesterday I did not know the class timings changed, sir. Today only I made a call and asked, then they told me it is changed. So these 2 days only, sir, I've missed.
Oh, this is a big problem. Okay, चलो ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, फिर तो no problem. So you have watched the previous lecture? Hmm? You have completed the previous lecture, na?
Sir, I watched the previous lecture, sir.
All right, good. That's good. और तुमने देख लिए सारे, सही में देख लिए? So dedicated. देखो, this is the dedication, right? So right. So क्या लिखा last? The government there moved to assert its control over Tibet. Moved to assert its control over Tibet. ठीक है. Full stop. PLA, People's Liberation Army. PLA, People's Liberation Army, entered Tibet and integrated it into People's Republic of China. Integrated it into People's Republic of China, PRC. Right, next point. Historically, Tibet has acted as a buffer zone between India and China. है ना, बताया मैंने कि हिस्टोरिकली ये क्या था, ये बफर था. And this buffer helped reduce the direct military and political friction between India and China. Direct military and political friction between India and China. और और देखो इसमें क्या था कि ये इससे जो है, हाँ एक ये क्या नाम है, अभिषेक, अभिषेक पानी भर लो, ठंडा भर लो, ठीक. तो इससे इंडिया पर क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ा? नाउ व्हाट वाज इट्स इम्पैक्ट ऑन इंडिया? देखो, व्हाट वाज इट्स इम्पैक्ट ऑन इंडिया? What was its impact on India? इंडिया पर इसका क्या इम्पैक्ट पड़ा? बताया मैंने आपको कि भाई अब जो है अपने बॉर्डर मिल गए, ठीक है. तो लिखो, द रिमूवल ऑफ दिस बफर, द रिमूवल ऑफ दिस बफर brought China directly to India's borders. Brought China directly to India's borders. And this significantly increased India's security concerns. This significantly increased India's security concerns. Increased India's security concerns. अब देखो, नाउ सी दिस वाज एन, अभी रुको, सुनो, पहले लिख लेना, सब कुछ लिख लेना, हेडिंग भी, अभी बस सुनो पहले. देखो, दिस वाज द टाइम when the entire world was going through a phase of decolonization. Okay, the countries were basically getting rid of the colonial impact or the colonialism, right? We can just see in Asia also. In Asia, several countries, just look at the neighborhood of India. Myanmar got independence during the same time, only in 1940s only. Sri Lanka also got independence during the same time. Okay, I think 1 year before or after India's independence, it also got independence. Then we can say that when Pakistan, now Pakistan, before India, undivided India got independence during that same time only, after basically after the Second World War. Okay, so now this era was the era of decolonization. अबे तुम क्यों लिख रहे हो? कि तुम सुनो, फिर तुम सुनोगे नहीं, फिर तुम लिखोगे बस, तो सुनो. So this time was the time of decolonization. See, after the Second World War, what happened? Now the Cold War also got started. Okay, now the countries that were becoming decolonized, newly independent nations. Now in those newly independent nations, it was a curiosity also, or a point of concern also, that what role India and China are going to play. And this anxiety in the minds of foreign policy makers shaped our Indian foreign policy. Okay, clear? So it was ki likho the early 1950s. ये heading डाल दो heading लिखो पहले heading लिखो era of decolonization 1950. ऐसे लिखो the early 1950s. The early 1950s saw many Asian and African nations, saw many Asian and African nations gaining independence, okay? They were getting independence, all right? And a new post-colonial world order was going to be established. A new post-colonial world order was going to be established. या ऐसे भी लिख सकते हो was emerging. ठीक है? And the major question in front of the policy makers, the major question in front of the policy makers was that what role India and China are going to play. Okay, what is the role that they are going to play? Also, you can write in this world of newly independent nations. All right. So, what role they are going to play in this world of newly independent nations? देखो ऐसा था. Let me explain you one thing. Both, see, India and China, दोनों को ना, to both these countries were basically seen as neutral leaders. Okay, both were seen as neutral leaders because the initial phase was a calm phase only. All right, but there were both things. Okay, on one side there were possibilities of cooperation also, but on the other side there were concerns of rivalry also. All right. So on one side, there were possibilities that there might emerge several opportunities where India and China both can start cooperating with each other. But on the other hand, there were likely possibilities that there might emerge some sort of very big and systemic rivalry between these two nations. All right, just write this thing. Both countries were seen as neutral and natural leaders, because it was very natural that these are the two countries that are going to lead. Natural leaders of the developing world that creates both opportunities for cooperation as well as possibilities for rivalry. अब देखो एक बात सुनो, ये तीनों चीजें तो you got to understand, but one thing here was, what was China's importance in India's foreign policy? It was a big power. Okay, सुनो अभी, हेलो, कहाँ छूटा, क्या छूटा, जल्दी देख के लिखो, लिखो जल्दी, दिखाओ भाई इनको लास्ट पॉइंट क्या था. हो गई शांति? मिली शांति या नहीं? तो देखो, एक तुम्हारे लिए रोका क्लास को पूरी, और फिर तुम जो है खुश भी नहीं हो रहे हो इस बात से. हो गई ना खुश अब? ठीक है, चलो. एक तो सबसे ज्यादा दुखी ये रहती है, इनको चाहे नीतीश जी को, इनके नीतीश जी को कुछ कह दो तो ये सबसे ज्यादा दुखी हो जाती है. ठीक है, नहीं होती हो तुम दुखी? नहीं, चलो, आई अंडरस्टैंड देयर आर एफिलिएशंस, है ना, होता है ना. सम पीपल आर मोर क्लोजर टू आवर एफिलिएशंस, है ना. चलो, तो देखो बाकी तो कोई नहीं है ना जो, किससे, बिहार में? अच्छा, बिहार से आप भी हो? बस नीतीश बाबू, बिहार में कहाँ से हो आप? पटना से हो? पटना में कहाँ से हो? कंकरबाग से. अच्छा, तो मेरी बात सुनो, और तुम तो तीन नहीं, कौन सा है तुम्हारा? तिनसुकिया? नहीं नहीं, तिनसुकिया तो तुम्हारा है. तुम्हारा कौन सा? हाँ हाँ, सीतामढ़ी. बाप रे, एकदम गढ़ से हैं ये लोग तो चलो, अब सुनो मेरी बात. तो देखो, ऐसा है कि चाइना का इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है इंडिया की फॉरेन पॉलिसी में. देखो, सिंपल सी बात एक ये थी कि एक तरफ अगर हम देखें तो चाइना जो है एक दूसरा मेजर एशियन पावर था, ठीक है, जिसका वी हैड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जिसका रेवोल्यूशनरी क्रेडेंशियल था. एक होता है ना, किसी किसी का पीसफुल क्रेडेंशियल होता है, नहीं हमेशा से शांति चाहते हैं, इनका हमेशा से रेवोल्यूशनरी क्रेडेंशियल था. एशिया की इंडिया के बाद कह लो या इंडिया के साथ कह लो एक दूसरी मेजर पावर थी. इसके साथ देने से इंडिया बहुत आगे बढ़ सकता था, लेकिन इसके काउंटर करने से इंडिया के एफर्ट्स बहुत डिमिनिश हो सकते थे. ठीक है, ये पॉसिबिलिटी थी. राइट वन क्वेश्चन, व्हाट वाज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ चाइना इन इंडियाज फॉरेन पॉलिसी? इंडिया की फॉरेन पॉलिसी में चाइना का इंपॉर्टेंस क्या था? विच पॉइंट, मैंने अभी कौन सी वाली बात हिंदी में बोली थी? विच पॉइंट आई टोल्ड इन हिंदी? यस यस, सी, Yes, Aarti. So the thing is here, in this way only you can always remind me when I switch myself to Hindi. So the thing was that now the another major power in Asia was China apart from India, and it had several revolutionary credentials. Okay, as portrayed by its history. Now, if it could have supported India, cooperated with India, it could have helped in India's rise. But, and this I am talking from, like, just think that I am talking sitting in 1950. Okay, and the apprehension was, but if in case at any point of time China counters India, undermines India's growth, then it will be a very big threat to India's rise, right? So just write what was the importance of China in India's strategy. Okay, just write India clearly understood that India clearly understood that its global ambitions were closely linked with China's position. राइटिंग अच्छी है, सही है, सही है। देखो ऐसा मत सोचना कि don't think like that. If for example China allows us to rise, then only we will rise. If they don't allow us to rise, we will not rise. It's not like that, not at all like that. Okay, it was just that if we will rise and China will basically be emerge as a threat to India, then basically India's development will become very difficult. And this only happened in 1962. What happened in 1962? China started a war with India. All right, and that war was a threat to India's development. Okay, India was trying to basically get out of all the ill parameters of our socio-economic development, and it basically curtailed all our efforts for our development. Right. So, right, why China was crucial? Question likho. Why China was crucial? Now you can write like this. One, two, and in the first, right, China was another major Asian power. China was another major Asian power. Okay, was another major Asian power, and that too with revolutionary credentials, and that too, POO, that too with revolutionary credentials. ठीक है, दूसरा second, right, second, its support could strengthen India's leadership. ये अगला वाला है ना, its support could strengthen India's leadership. उसी में लिख दिया क्या? Its support could strengthen India's leadership. और थर्ड वाले में लिखो its opposition could undermine India's efforts. Could undermine India's efforts. अब यहाँ ना एक छोटा सा नोट लिख लो, whenever this question is asked and in introduction you have to write, then whatever Nehru's ideals I have told you in the evolutionary वाला topic ना, so note में डाल के लिख लो कि the या ऐसे लिखो Nehru's position on China, we can write here, ठीक है? यहाँ नेहरू की पोजीशन क्या थी? It was that we all together must peacefully lead this developing world. There is no threat of China's aggressive policy over India. We do not face any kind of threat. It was idealistic policies, right? And he believed in peaceful coexistence like things, okay? So now Patel had a very different approach, okay? So we can you can put a question, what was Sardar Patel's approach? क्या हुआ? वो तो नोट था, ये बोलो क्या हुआ? हाँ, नोट मैंने डिक्टेट नहीं, नोट तो तुमको यहाँ लिखाया है मैंने नोट, इसका मतलब ये है कि तुम जब इसको पढ़ोगे ना तब तुमको एवोल्यूशन वाले को खोलना है, उसमें नेहरू वाले टाइम को पढ़ना है, ठीक है, रिलेट करके पढ़ना है ना। तो क्योंकि देखो अभी मैंने वो चीज वहां तो लिखवाई थी आपको, आई हैव मेड यू राइट द पॉइंट्स ऑफ नेहरूज विजन, ओके, इन evolution of India's foreign policy. So why to double the task, है ना, why to again write it, okay, no point of writing it again, okay, so just right now लिखो, right, what was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's approach in India's China policy? ठीक है, सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल की क्या अप्रोच थी, ठीक है, व्हाट वाज द अप्रोच ऑफ सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल, ओके, नाउ ही वाज अ, I would say not more but a ultimate realist leader, ultimate realist leader, okay. Now he was very much oriented towards security perspective, completely, that whatever concerns to our security is right, what not concerns to our security is not right. This was his ideology. He understood, he took into account history, and that is the main reason why I always say that what is history? History is the politics of past, and what is present? Present is the history, like politics of present, है ना? What is present? It is the politics of present, and what was history? History was the politics of past. Earlier, whatever politics happened, that only became history, isn't it? Now he understood the historical politics that China did in its neighborhood. He understood that what China did in Tibet, they can do in Indian territory also. What is stopping them from doing that? Huh? Have they ever expressly told that no, we will not basically claim that line, that area beyond the McMahon line? No, they never claimed that. Getting the point? So it was that he took long-term security into its consideration, and on the basis of that gave some suggestions to Nehru that we must be militarily prepared enough to counter any possible threat that can emerge from China. तुम थोड़ा ध्यान कम दे रहे हो, हाँ, थोड़ा सा कम दे रहे हो, इधर उधर कुछ नहीं सोचना है, एकदम ध्यान देके सुनो, ठीक है, एकदम अच्छे से सुनो, एकदम ठीक है, अच्छा. So he basically tried to persuade Nehru that we must be maintaining the border infrastructure, we must be building good infrastructure in our border region, we must basically, and he also suggested Nehru that we must start cooperating with US. And this is what I also feel, that It is not that if you are just cooperating or maintaining some sort of ties with US, then it is basically going against the NAM or indulging in Cold War politics. It's not like that. It's just that we are trying to like uphold our national interest. But the result was that a very big turning point came in the development of India's foreign policy, and that turning point was actually the death of Sardar Patel in 1950. Hmm? So that's why if he would have been the first Prime Minister of India, then our policy could have been very different. I'm not saying it could have been better. Even if he would have been the Prime Minister, there are possibilities that despite of developing our military preparedness, we could have we could have met the same destiny. That is also a possibility. But this is just a possible event, hypothetical. So don't take it that I am criticizing Nehru that he must have not become the prime minister. It's not like that, but I'm just conveying my view that if he would have become the prime minister, then entirely the development of India's foreign policy would have been very different. Okay, so yes, this is the point now, right? Vallabhbhai Patel, Vallabhbhai Patel adopted a more realist, adopted a more realist and security oriented perspective. He was concerned about China's intentions in Tibet and long-term security implications for India and long-term security implications for India. Okay. Security implications for India. अब लोगों को जो people who are from another batch, you want online access also? You want? You want to get enrolled in that batch? Tell me the name of your batch. प्रवेश सर, राइजर्स कितना बताया? राइजर 7, 8, 13 और 9, ये सब जो बैचेस है ना राइजर्स वाले, जो आईआर जिनका था, इनको पोर्टल पे भी एनरोल करवा दो. मतलब अच्छा, नहीं उसमें दिक्कत क्या वैसे, क्या लगानी पड़ जाएंगी? अच्छा 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 अच्छा, चलो फिर तो छोड़ो, फिर ठीक है. ठीक 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 ठीक. हाँ 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 हाँ, ठीक ठीक ठीक. ओके ओके, ऑल राइट ऑल राइट ऑल राइट. हाँ यार, फिर तो देखो दिक्कत हो जाएगी, वो शीट सारी बदलनी पड़ेगी. That entire sheet, which is the teacher sheet and the technical sheet, है ना, वो sheet पूरी will have to be altered, है ना. I देखो, बट उनका वही है कि इनका एक्चुअली हो गया था आईआर. You have already done your IR. I have not. पढ़ते नहीं हो। देखो आगे। So yes, Ati, you are there. It's written offline in front of your name. Why so? Are you there? I don't know what happened. So what was the last point? Long-term security, है ना? So he had this implication. All right. So अब देखो ऐसे देखो. The key suggestions that were put forward by Patel were, और फिर 1 2 3 करके, then write by using 1 2 3. The key suggestions forwarded by Patel were: number one, strengthening India's military preparedness. Strengthening India's military preparedness. अगला देखो, strengthening India's border infrastructure. That too near the Chinese border. Number three, considering strategic cooperation with the United States. Considering strategic cooperation with the United States if required to balance China. Don't write in this point, but write in another one. Just write one point that. Adya, are you able to hear now?
Yes, sir.
Which is some disconnection happened in between. Because it's written offline.
Yes, sir. Then I was not able to hear, sir. So I rejoined again now, sir. Now it's okay.
Yes, this only should be done. Then you, by clicking on the microphone option, then you will be able to join. चलो, क्या हुआ? इसीलिए that's why I made it live on YouTube. This entire course will be there because management told that such difficulty can come, so I said कि live करो, है ना? और बाकी को भी जो नहीं भी कर रहे हैं उनको भी पढ़ने दो, क्या ही दिक्कत है पढ़ने में, है ना? चलो इसीलिए that was the main reason. फिर भी मेरे दिमाग में it came in my mind कि might be you get enrolled, so yesterday lecture, yesterday, how is it possible? It was there, na? It is. Oh, you. Acha. You might have checked the playlist, na? I haven't added it in the playlist. You can just check the main videos. Okay, in the videos, after 6 to 7 videos, you will get the. Okay, today only I will add some more live videos and then we'll add that in the course. Okay, yeah, we'll do that today. हाँ, वो मैं भूल गया है ना, it skipped out of my mind है ना, ये हो गया. So a turning point came in the development of India's foreign policy in 1950. A turning point came in the development of India's foreign policy in 1950 with the death of Sardar Patel. With the death of Sardar Patel. After which Nehru's views became dominant. Nehru's views became dominant. And unchallenged. Now, initially what happened? Initially, now what was India's position on the annexation of Tibet? After the establishment of People's Republic of China, India was the first country that recognized China, and we did not like issued any rigorous comment over this. Okay, what we did was we basically advised China. Okay, what we could have done. Okay, we advised China that you must avoid any aggressive takeover of Tibet. And what we were doing, we were just following the British era policy. During the time of Britishers, we had some sort of, I would say, diplomatic relations with Tibet. We had some missions in Lhasa and Sigatse. Okay, so there we had some diplomatic missions. We maintained doing that. Okay, we maintained that. Now, there was not much we could have done in that case, and we officially recognized China. Okay, and basically also proactively asked China to protect the traditional interest of Tibet. Okay, this is what we could have done, and we did that. Okay, now, right, what was India's early position on Tibet? Now, after this, now I will tell you one thing that was a major reason behind the War of 62. Okay, related to Tibet only. Now, right, what was India's early position on Tibet? India's early position of Tibet. Okay, so right, initially India advised China. Initially, India advised China to avoid aggressive takeover of Tibet. To avoid aggressive takeover of Tibet. And continued the British era diplomatic engagements. And continued the British era diplomatic engagements with Tibet by maintaining small missions at Shigatse and Lhasa. So on the two side, on the one side, we are recognizing China also. It's क्या हुआ? मुझसे पूछो कौन सा बचा है? बढ़िया. सुनो. Listen. So on the one side, we recognize China, but on the other side, by maintaining these missions in Lhasa and Sigatse, we try to recognize the traditional interest of Tibet also. Okay. So right, this shows that India tried to balance. This shows that India tried to balance the recognition of China and also the recognition of China and also the protection of its traditional interest in Tibet. Traditional interest in Tibet. Moving to 1954, here what happened? there came a phase of agreement between India and China. Okay, अभी कुछ नहीं लिखना, ठीक है? Now that agreement is called as Panchasheel Agreement. This Panchasheel Agreement became the foundational pillar for India and China relations. Okay. And this Panchasheel Agreement, and even during this particular signing of the agreement, India formally recognized China, no, not China, but formally recognized Tibet as a formal part of China. Okay, during this agreement. And what else India did? India basically gave a special privilege to basically Tibet. Now we told that Tibet has a special importance in India because of religious factor, also because of traditional cultural civilizational factors, also because from India Buddhism went and Tibet basically started practicing Buddhism. And Tibet is a very, I would say, a tabletop territory, if you will see. No, that is, have you heard about jet streams, western disturbance? Now when that jet stream comes to basically Himalayas from the Tibet, because Tibet is like this tabletop surface, it gets bifurcated because of that Tibet only, right? It moves like this, है ना? So it's a isolated place. Okay, it's a very unique place. Okay, a distinct, it has a very distinct identity from the rest of the China. We told them that we are recognizing Tibet as a formal part of China, but at the same time, we will be basically maintaining some of the inherited legacy, okay, from the Britishers with Tibet. And also in the Panchasheel agreement, there were 5 principles of coexistence. Like what principles we both will follow. The first was mutual respect for sovereignty. We will mutually respecting each other's sovereignty, all right, supreme power. Another was non-aggression. We will not commit any sort of aggression on territorial aggression or any sort of aggression. Then it was non-interference. We will not interfere in each other's domestic affairs. All right. Another was equality and mutual benefit. We both will be recognizing each other to be equal in our relations, and also will basically recognize, do everything that will mutually benefit each other. And the 5th principle of the Panchasheel agreement was peaceful coexistence. That we will be peacefully coexist. So in the Hindi there is a word called Jio or Jeene Do. You live and let others live. Okay? All right? Right. Give the heading 1954 Agreement and Panchasheel. And Panchasheel. All right. Here? So right. In 1954, India and China signed an important agreement. On Tibet. Okay. So first point, right? What is the major point of the agreement? India formally recognized Tibet as a part of China. Okay, India formally recognized Tibet as a part of China. Next point, right? India gave up special privileges for Tibet और फिर नेक्स्ट पॉइंट में गिव अ हेडिंग 4 principles of पंचशील. In bracket you can write principles of peaceful, 5 principles of peaceful coexistence. Okay. First, right, mutual respect for sovereignty. Mutual respect for sovereignty. Mutual respect for sovereignty, right? Non-aggression. Next, right? Non-interference. Non-interference. Next, right? Equality and mutual benefit. Equality and mutual benefit. Next, right? Peaceful coexistence. Peaceful coexistence. और एक लाइन और ऐसे लिख लो, this was true also, right? This phase marked the peak of India-China friendship, right? This phase marked the peak of India-China friendship. But देखो, see, here there were 2 wrong presumptions. Okay, just after this phase, ना छोटे बच्चे हाँ देख हाँ है क्या वहां बताओ पंखा चल रहा है बस तो अब सुनो मेरी बात देखो see this phase of friendship was based on 2 assumptions. Okay, the first thing that Indian leadership assumed was that by supporting friendship with China, it will reduce the militarization of Tibet. After the annexation of Tibet, डर रहता है अरे this is normal human tendency. कई बार नहीं होता when we see somewhere but we are at some other point of world है ना this happens but सुनो ध्यान से listen online also please listen. This was based on 2 assumptions है ना एक तो पहला कि because China was carrying out heavy militarization of Tibet to establish its complete control over Tibet. It was doing heavy military activity over Tibet. So first assumption was that we will build friendship with China. China will feel that now India has also completely accepted Tibet as a 100% part of China. India will never resist it, and their military activity will stop there. Okay, this also went wrong. Another assumption was because there were slogans over both the territory across the borders, Hindi Chini bhai bhai, Hindi Chini bhai bhai. Indian leadership thought that if we have good friendship and relation, this so that we both will cooperate in the development. We both will cooperate. Write this also. Beginning, yeah, don't write beginning. ऐसे लिख लो. हिंदी चीनी भाई भाई फेज. प्रिया चौबे जी, अच्छे से सुनते हो आप, बढ़िया, ऐसे ही पढ़ते रहो, अच्छे से बनाए आपने सब नोट्स. गुड. यू आर फ्रॉम मध्य प्रदेश. बताया. अरे अभी तो आपसे बताया, पूछा ना मैंने. ये कितनी डाइवर्सिटी है ना हमारी क्लास में. वन फ्रॉम ईस्ट, आरती इज फ्रॉम तमिलनाडु, है ना. आरती और फ्रॉम तमिलनाडु ना. विष्णु इज ऑल्सो लिविंग इन चेन्नई, है ना. एंड यू आर फ्रॉम बिहार. आप लोग यूपी नहीं से आसपास कौन सी जगह. अरे एकदम एटा मैन. अरे यार है, मठा के आलू खाए ना. मठा के आलू. Here, there, what happens in any wedding or any celebration? You can have paneer, you can have chop, whatever thing you have in your wedding. But one thing, if it's not there, it's a simple recipe using curd and potato. It's a very simple recipe, matha ke aloo. If it's not there, then the entire wedding is waste. This happens there. Diversity, है ना? And this is democracy. We accepting diversity is democracy. When we just accept that we are living in democracy, having diversity, then that's democracy. So you put this heading, है ना. तो अभी देखो. अच्छा, और पता है आपको, हिंदी लोग मीठा बहुत बोलते हैं. हाँ हाँ, this is very true. One is people from MP, Central India basically, and from ये इनके वाला area. They have a very sweet tongue. Right. The period after 1954 saw strong goodwill. Saw strong goodwill, between the two countries. The friendship was based on two assumptions. Right, like this. Make this flowchart type thing. Based on two assumptions. Right. First, write the first assumption. Write first. The first, you can write pillar 1. Supporting China and supporting China would discourage militarization of Tibet. Right, pillar 2. Right, China would cooperate with India China would cooperate with India to shape the future of post-colonial Asia. To shape the future of post-colonial Asia. एक व्यू है वो कहाँ गया? Give me a second. So now there were some international developments. Okay, those international developments were that now what happened now in Soviet. Now I'm talking about the Cold War. Okay, in Soviet, what happened? यार ध्यान दे लो, क्या है, क्या मेरे को बताओ ना, क्या है वहाँ? कुछ दिख रहा है क्या? तुम्हें कुछ दिख रहा है वहाँ? तो अभी क्या है वहाँ? नहीं, बुद्ध भगवान दिख रहे हैं मेरे को, तो क्या है वहाँ? दिखाओ जरा अपने आर्ट। क्या चाहते हो? हम बता रहे हैं तुमको, ध्यान दे लो, भी जो पढ़ा रहे हैं उस पर। वहां देख क्या रही है ये लड़की, समझ नहीं आ रहा। पेंटिंग बुद्धा। तुम वहां बैठनी, वहां से और देखिए, तुम यहाँ देखो। तो नाउ व्हाट हैपेंड, leadership changed in USSR. Okay, now in नहीं, आवाज आवाज मत करो। In USSR, what happened? In USSR, the leader Stalin, he basically, Joseph Stalin died in 1953. All right. After his death, Nikita Khrushchev, so he basically took the power there. So he now had the power in USSR, and he basically softened its stance towards the West. Okay, he was not that much aggressive or anti-West. He had a soft corner for West. All right. Now, because USSR and China were on the same ideology, anti-West ideology, है ना? But USSR started maintaining some good ties with the West. It basically irritated. Okay. Now tensions emerged between China and Soviet Union. Now we were close to Soviet. है ना? Natural impact. Okay. Now there was also ideological rivalry between India and China. We promoted what? Non-violence in all the African and Asian countries. We promoted unity. We promoted anti-apartheid, gradual political transformation. Na? And we wanted diplomatic engagements with all Asian and African countries, right? Isn't this true? Yes, this is. But China advocated for armed rebellion in those countries. It wanted violent struggle against the colonial power. What we preferred, a gradual transition to democracy. That was a irritant. Okay. So Mao believed that India's approach towards the Afro-Asian unity is basically misguiding the emerging nations. They thought that we are misguiding them. We are not allowing armed revolution there. Right. International developments during this time. First point, right? After the death of Joseph Stalin, after the death of Joseph Stalin, right, in 1953, Nikita Khrushchev, Nikita Khrushchev took power and he promoted peaceful coexistence with the West.
Sir, can you repeat last?
After the death of Joseph Stalin in 1953, Nikita Khrushchev took power and he promoted peaceful coexistence with the West. Now, right, next point. China under Mao Zedong, Maozedong, Mao Zedong. China under Mao Zedong disagreed with this approach because Mao believed in revolutionary movements, and according to him, softening towards the West will be a betrayal of communist ideology. He believed that softening towards the West will be a betrayal of communist ideology. And this led to, yes, and this change in the leadership led to tensions between China and the Soviet Union. ठीक है? Clear? One more thing that I told, that ideological rivalry in Asian African world. So put a heading, ideological rivalry in the Afro-Asian world. So देखो, ideological rivalry between, in the Afro-Asian world. The competition was there. We wanted peaceful transition of power. We wanted non-violence, but they promoted armed revolution in the colonial states to fight against colonialism. Okay, so right, the ideological difference, spilled into competition between India and China in newly independent regions. In bracket you can write especially Africa. ऐसे right, on one side of the page India's approach, China's approach. Right, on India's approach side you can write, India promoted non-violence, gradual political transformation, okay, and diplomatic engagements. Okay, on China's approach, right, China promoted armed violence. China promoted armed violence and violent struggle against the colonial powers. Now, after concluding this table, you can write one point, that Mao believed that India's approach. No, don't write in table. After this table, major line. अच्छा, ज़्यादा लंबी table बना दी. Close that table and then write. Okay. Mao believed that India's approach was misguiding the emerging nations. ठीक है? They believed that we are misguiding. Clear? So that was basically a major thing that happened. तो अब मेरी बात सुनो. This is not optional class, so no need to write exact codes of that. ठीक है? Here we need to just, so अगली बार in the next class we will be talking about the 1959 uprising that happened in Tibet. Okay, so and just to give you a glimpse of that, so what happened na, there uprising happened, all right, and Dalai Lama, have you heard about Dalai Lama? Dalai Lama is not a person. Dalai Lama is a position. Okay, the Buddhist head is called as Dalai Lama. Okay, so now what happened? Dalai Lama came to now because of that uprising, because there are so many wrong things were happening. So because of that, what happened? Dalai Lama flew to and basically asked India to give him political refuge, that is called as asylum. Now tell me one thing honestly. We want to care only about our national interest. Isn't this true? Yes, this is true. Dalai Lama there was an enemy of China. It is. I know we have relation. Now don't say he was a Buddhist leader and we are a, basically India is a like giver of Buddhism. And India gave Buddhism to the world. Don't talk about that. Just talk about national interest. For national interest, he was enemy of China. And what India did? India gave asylum to Dalai Lama. And China perceived this thing as a threat to their sovereignty. Now this became a irritant in India-China relations. Why to give him asylum? I know he is respectable. Now you will say he was a respected person. In Dharamshala in Himachal Pradesh, we gave him asylum. But respect is one dimension, but another dimension is the national interest. Okay, so that happened. Okay, that I will tell you in the classes over. Let's meet tomorrow. Okay, and online, any problem, online students? All of you, okay?
Yes, sir. Sir,
हाँ बोलो.
सर ये अभी ये 2-3 दिन से बीच में बहुत रुकता रहता है सर, वो वॉइस ब्रेक होता रहता
हाँ
है
यार,
आपका.
पूरा पता है पीछे बैकएंड पर ना सर्वर से कुछ इशू चल रहा है. लेट्स सी, तो करेंगे वो, बस सॉर्ट आउट करेंगे उसको ना.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर.
ओके, बाय बाय.